This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222.
There are women who have everything, including ovaries and fallopian tubes, but whose uterus never developed. It's got a very fancy name. There are 3 people who discovered it. It's called MMK. That's the initials of their names. I can't even remember their names. Rokitansky syndrome. Maya, Rokitansky. Yeah. Anyway, that's what Rebecca Deans is, a gynecologist who specialises in these abnormalities, particularly in children, is when they're usually discovered when they don't get a period, although they've developed normally in every other way. But it will, I'm sure, develop further. So that's uterine transplants, a thing of the future. Taking that to the extreme is maybe we'll be able to have an artificial uterus using your eggs and build a box that supplies the placenta with all the nutrients in an artificial manner and grow a baby that way. I don't think so, but it may be an ultimate approach. Which really takes me on to the next topic, which has been in the news just recently. Which is artificial or producing sperm and eggs from base cells called stem cells. We all have some stem cells in our body. In fact, that's where we start. What happens is that under the influences of various proteins and growth factors, cytokines, cells differentiate. They turn themselves into being a cell that doesn't know where it's going to something else, which will be maybe a brain cell, maybe a kidney cell, maybe a retinal cell, and all those differentiation processes occur when the embryo is probably no bigger than a 5-cent coin. All those processes are happening, and they're all coming from stem cells. Probably a decade ago, no, it's even longer ago than that, the science world was buzzing with stem cells will change everything. We'll be able to grow all the organs that we know from stem cells, and we'll do away with transplants. It really hasn't materialized. It's probably been the biggest disappointment in science in the biological area over the last 15 to 20 years. There's been a few small breakthroughs in terms of heart muscle and skin, and possibly rejuvenation of joints, of the surfaces, the cartilage. And it's those stem cells that it's thought that the plasma-rich protein, the PRP therapies, that certainly in cartilage seem to be of benefit in stirring up cells to grow the cartilage again. So going on down that line, recently there has been a mouse created from an egg fertilized by artificial sperm, so that the scientists have created the equivalent of a sperm, injected it into an egg, and a mouse has got pregnant, carried a pregnancy through to the end. And that heralds potentially a new era, because when men can't produce sperm or the woman runs out of eggs, maybe this is a way forward. I'm not totally convinced that it's adaptable to the human yet, but obviously having now achieved it in mice, and their chromosomal genetic makeup, it's not the same as ours, but it's still fairly complicated. And if it can be done there, potentially it can be achieved in the human. But it's something to look forward to. So there are a few new leading edges of research in the human reproductive area, in what we call in vitro gametogenesis, is the terminology, making gametes, sperm and egg, in a petri dish. We frowned at that when IVF came in the 1970s. Community Society said this is a bad experiment, many of them, But now with something like, I think we're up to 9 million babies born worldwide through IVF treatment. In Australia, we're now up to over 300,000, about the population of Hobart. Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for ART. So we're making a significant contribution to population. And many countries have recognised that. And even our state government in New South Wales has recognised that and has provided an extra $2,000 subsidy on top of the Medicare rebate to encourage those people who can't afford or haven't been able to afford IVF to be able to participate in this way of bringing a baby into the world through the IVF approach.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey podcast from the navigation menu.